Coming up on this Monday edition of Daybreak, kicking off a busy extraordinary session, Korean lawmakers plan to pass a slew of economy-related bills, reach a deal over public pensions and tax returns, and hold a confirmation hearing for the Prime Minister nominee. Jordan says it's still prepared to do a prisoner swap with Islamic State for a captured pilot, even after a video is released that shows the killing of a Japanese journalist. Plus, thousands of pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong take to the streets in the first large rally since demonstrators brought the city to a standstill last year. Daybreak begins now. Hello and thanks for joining us. To our viewers around the world, it's 6 a.m. on Monday, February 2nd here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broome and you're tuned in to Daybreak. And we begin at the National Assembly. February's extraordinary session kicks off today with the rival parties focusing on a couple of key confirmation hearings and a number of bills aimed at revitalising the economy. The ruling Saenuri Party wants to pass at least a dozen bills that it hopes will improve the livelihoods of the people. It has also put reform of the public pension scheme for civil servants on top of its agenda. The main opposition, New Politics Alliance for Democracy, says it plans to focus on adjusting the current year-end tax settlement scheme, which has gone down extremely negatively with the public. Before the revision, many salaried workers in Korea were able to get tax refunds at the end of the tax year that were commonly referred to as an extra month's pay. Confirmation hearings for Prime Minister nominee Lee Won-gu and the Supreme Court Justice will also be held this month. The ruling party is selecting its new floor leader today. The opposition party will pick its new chairman on February 8th. And as we just mentioned there, the future direction of Korea's ruling Saenuri Party could be shaped today as it gears up to elect a new floor leader. The two front-runners are four-term lawmaker Lee Ju-yong, who has pledged to restore relations between the party and the Park Geun-hye administration. Three-term lawmaker Yoo Seung-min, who is more critical of the administration, has vowed to completely overhaul the party ahead of next year's general elections. Won Yu-chol and Hong Moon-jong are also in running for the post. World leaders have expressed their revulsion over the murder of a Japanese journalist by Islamic State militants in Syria. Kenji Goto's death comes less than a week after the group beheaded another man from Japan. The country's Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe, has vowed not to give in to terrorism. Jordan, on the other hand, which is trying to free its captured pilot, says it still wants to do a prisoner swap with the extremist group. Our Kim Ji-yeon reports.
The Islamic State has released another video that shows the beheading of a second Japanese hostage, journalist Kenji Goto. Japan's defense ministry says the video appears to be genuine. This a week after another video appearing to show the beheading of Japanese hostage Haruna Yukawa. In response, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said he feels intense indignation and vowed to bring those responsible to justice.
This is a very unjust and cowardly terrorist act, and we remain extremely angry about it. We do not forgive terrorists.
He vowed to increase Japan's humanitarian aid to support those working against the Islamic State, but he dismissed the possibility of increasing military support for multinational forces fighting the IS, saying they're different issues. Meanwhile, Goto's mother was visibly upset upon hearing the news about her son.
I wish to continue to believe in Kenji Goto's wish for a world without war, and in his work to save children from poverty and war.
Tokyo says it has no new information on a Jordanian pilot who was also captured by IS militants. The latest video didn't indicate whether he's still alive after a stalemate over a prisoner swap proposed by the IS. Meanwhile, international condemnation of the Islamic State group is intensifying, prompting countries to take action. Bahrain has decided to strip more than 70 of its nationals from citizenship for supporting IS militants. Kim Jeon, Arirang News.
Now, it has emerged that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un personally attended military drills last month that were aimed at taking out US aircraft carriers. According to South Korean government sources on Sunday, North Korea's Navy and Air Force held its second military exercise of the month last week in the East Sea. The first, also overseen by Kim, took place on January 23rd in the West Sea. Now, the most recent drill is known to have taken place near an island located in front of the port city of Wonsan, whereby they pretended the island was the US aircraft carrier. North Korea's military fired torpedoes and dropped bombs from fighter jets that targeted the island. Submarine units were also part of these drills. And North Korea says the United States rejected a recent invitation for talks. Quoting an unnamed spokesperson for the North's foreign ministry, Pyongyang's Korean Central News Agency reported that Sung Kim, the US Special Representative for North Korea policy, knocked back an invitation from Pyongyang to visit the North during his recent trip to Asia. The spokesperson added that Washington wants to shift blame to Pyongyang, leading people to believe dialogue and contacts are not realized due to the regime's insincere attitude. The comment came 2 days after Sung Kim told reporters in Beijing that he was disappointed about not meeting with the North Koreans during his trip there. The diplomat added that Pyongyang must be ready for serious and productive discussions on the nuclear issue before serious talks can begin. Now, South Korean Navy has launched a special command that will be in charge of all submarine-related activities as part of efforts to boost its underwater capabilities and combat readiness against North Korea. Kim Hyun-bin reports.
The South Korean Navy inaugurated a submarine command on Sunday to bolster its underwater capabilities and combat readiness against North Korea. The fleet of the command, located in the southern port city of Chinhae, is led by a rear admiral in charge of 13 submarines.
This is not another submarine fleet. We are launching the submarine command to enhance our military strength and become the country's core strategic force.
The fleet of 13 includes 9 1,200-ton and 4 1,800-ton subs. By the year 2019, the Navy is planning to add 5 1,800-ton subs. And by 2020, the Navy will deploy 9 3,000-ton submarines capable of launching ballistic missiles. With the launch, South Korea has become the 6th nation to launch a submarine command after the US, Japan, France, Britain, and India. A huge advance since South Korea commissioned its first submarine from Germany in 1992. Even with the new command, North Korea still outnumbers the South in terms of submarine power. The North is believed to have some 70 submarines, roughly 4 times that of South Korea, and just behind the United States. Seoul and Washington also believe the North has new submarines that are capable of launching missiles. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Now, Seoul's skyline could end up looking pretty different in a few years' time because Hyundai Motor Group has asked the Seoul city government for permission to build what will become Korea's tallest building on its recently acquired plot of land in Seoul's southern Gangnam district. Now, Son Jung-in has more.
In September last year, Hyundai Motor Group purchased an 80,000 square meter plot of land in southern Seoul from Korea Electric Power Corporation for nearly $10 billion. Korea's second largest group planned to establish a global business center on the land, including its headquarters and a car-based theme park. Last month, Chairman Chung Mong-gu laid out the group's vision to construct a 105-story building during his annual New Year's speech to Hyundai employees. On Sunday, the group finally submitted its detailed development scheme to the Seoul city government. The finalized plan is to build a 115-story structure that will house the group's headquarters, offices, and other business facilities. It's 10 floors higher than the previously envisioned building and will stand 571 meters tall. Hyundai Motor Group also aims to build a commercial facility inside a separate 62-story building featuring a convention center, hotel, and shopping mall. If everything goes to plan, the construction will become the tallest building in Korea. The Seoul city government says it will convene a meeting of experts from different fields to review the proposal and examine the impact the building could have on traffic flow and the environment of the local area. Currently, the 305-meter Northeast Asia Trade Tower in the western port city of Incheon is the tallest building in Korea. The Lotte World Tower in southeastern Seoul, which has run into a number of construction and safety controversies, will be 555 meters tall once it is completed next year. 손정인, Arirang News.
The Korean government is boosting support for businesses working in the nation's science and information and communications technology sectors. The Science Ministry says it's going to distribute more than $6.5 million to organizations and individuals who can play big roles in developing key space technologies. The ministry has put out a call for 29 projects related to space technology. Registration began last Friday and applicants have until March 3rd to submit their proposal. The focus is on developing satellite technology which can be used to improve national defense, resolving social issues and creating new industries. And Korea's first privately backed commercial satellite is set to lift off later this month. It's just one of the number of projects under development by the Korea Aerospace Research Institute, which plans to spend the year working on new projects to keep the country in the global space race. Our Gwon-soa reports.
This is the Arirang 3A, Korea's first domestically developed multi-purpose satellite. It is equipped with electro-optic and infrared sensor cameras that will enable Korean researchers to see high-resolution images of the Earth, even at night. The camera can take pictures that are twice as clear as the Arirang 3, the satellite currently in operation. The 3A is now in its final stage of development ahead of the blast-off from Russia's Yasny launch site sometime in late February.
All that's left is to connect the upper module of the launch vehicle to the satellite. And after we finish testing the electrical power, everything will be ready for liftoff.
The Institute's new project to develop the KSLV-2, the Korea Space Launch Vehicle No. 2, is also in full swing. Its first stage was completed over a period of 5 years, and the project is now in its second phase, which involves connecting the 7-ton and 75-ton liquid engines. Up until last year, scientists had focused on testing the engines, but this year they will concentrate on testing other parts of the rocket, in addition to test firing the engines once they are assembled.
This year marks a turning point in our quest to develop our own space launch vehicle, as we combine the technology of the equipment and the facilities that we've developed so far.
The Korea Aerospace Research Institute, together with 15 other local institutions, pledges to push ahead with its research and development program to further enhance Korea's competitiveness in the global space race. Gwon-soa, Arirang News.
Now, Korea's LG Electronics was once one of the world's 3 largest mobile phone makers, and although it's been reduced to rather a marginal player in the smartphone sector, it does have ambitious plans to emerge as a leading firm in the wearable market. For this week's Industry Insight, our Shin Se-min reports on why LG is attaching so much importance to last Friday's release of its latest curved smartphone. the G Flex 2.
It all started with Apple's rollout of the iPhone. Then the race to be the winning choice seemed to focus on larger displays, higher definition, thinner and lighter, and onto cheaper smartphones. They call it a curved smartphone or bendable, although not exactly bendable like this, but definitely more bouncier and flexible than other smartphones. But with smartphones highly commoditized and cheap Chinese phones with all the so-called cool factors flooding the market, could this shuffle up the smartphone industry? Not immediately. But experts believe its new phone has a feature providing new potentials to the saturated smartphone market, a market in which more than 1/3 of the world's entire population is forecast to own a smartphone by the end of the year.
I don't see it being a game changer, but then I still do see as a point of differentiation for the flagship phone. Yes, so they are moving in a direction which I think eventually some of the industry players would also move into.
LG officials believe the curved smartphone represents the first step in achieving flexibility and display innovations that are needed to develop wearable gadgets. Curved displays are required as they need to be wrapped around wrists and other body parts. Experts believe the wearables are the next big thing for smartphone makers who will have to overcome technological barriers, particularly in displays.
Probably something that you'd wear on the inside of your wrist with a large display and that's wearable, or something that actually rolled up or folded up that you could put into your pocket and then bring out in its full form. Those are the two implementations that seem the most likely.
It may look and sound futuristic, with smart devices rolling and folding in the hands of users. But industry watchers say this technology could be fully commercialized sooner than you imagine.
It will happen soon, in 5 to 7 years' time. Right now, only LG Electronics and Samsung Electronics have the technology to curve the display. And that technology will definitely add value to their smartphone sales in the long run.
Korea's LG Electronics has been steadily increasing its investment in R&D since 2011, with spending reaching some $2.8 billion in 2013. There's no guarantee such investment will lead to a game-changing wearable gizmo, but working in tandem with its affiliate LG Display, the world's largest screen maker, the analyst says LG is giving itself a valuable head start. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Time now for a look through the global headlines. We're following this Monday morning in Seoul. For that, we turn to Eunice Kim, standing by at the news center. Good morning, Eunice.
And good morning to you, Mark. Thousands of yellow umbrellas were back on the streets of Hong Kong on Sunday as protesters returned with their call for a more democratic election in the 2017 chief executive polls. Hong Kong residents carried banners and yellow umbrellas symbolic of last year's sit-ins that had placed the financial hub in a standstill for 11 weeks in their call for a direct nomination of candidates outside of Beijing's influence. Sunday's demonstration remained peaceful. Chants of "We want true democracy" were heard as student leader Joshua Wong said the group wanted to sustain the momentum after the Occupy protests. Organizers say about 13,000 people had turned out for the large-scale rally, short of their 50,000 target. Police, though, say that figure was closer to 8,800 people. Now, China had promised the semi-autonomous territory could directly elect their next chief executive, but only from a pool of candidates vetted by Beijing. About 40% of lawmakers of Hong Kong's Legislative Council want more autonomy. Egypt has released one of 3 Al Jazeera journalists it had been holding for crimes against the state. Peter Greste was freed and deported to return to his native Australia on Sunday, ending a 400-day detention. He and 2 Al Jazeera colleagues had been arrested in December of 2013 and charged in June for spreading false news and supporting the Muslim Brotherhood, which has since been designated a terrorist organization. Reports say Mohammed Fahmy Rami, who holds a dual Egyptian-Canadian citizenship, is due to be freed as well, while the fate of the remaining journalist Bahar Mohammed remains unclear. All three men have maintained that they were simply reporting the news. And finally, Nigerians are set to head to the polls later this month in the country's February 14th general elections. But ahead of that poll, a relentless campaign of violence. At least 23 people were killed on Sunday in 4 separate strikes. A suicide attack in the town of Potiskum left at least 10 people dead after a bomber walked up to the House of Representatives member before blowing himself up. In Gombe City, at least 5 people were killed in 2 separate blasts, one at a market and the other at a security checkpoint several minutes later when a motorcyclist detonated himself. There was no immediate claim of responsibility, but all attacks took place in northern Nigeria, where the Islamist terror group Boko Haram is active. This as northeast Nigeria's capital city of Maiduguri came under Boko Haram attack on Sunday. Hours of explosions rattled the city of 2 million people. At least 8 people were killed, but soldiers and local vigilantes were able to celebrate a rare victory against Boko Haram.
And a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off with the Korean national football team, who returned to Korea after their second place finish at the 2015 Asian Cup over the weekend. And quite a different welcome this time compared to the 2014 Brazil World Cup. Now, we remember a fan throwing taffy at the national team after the disastrous World Cup, but this time, flowers and more flowers as the national team returned to Korea on Sunday after their incredible Asian Cup run. And smiles all around for the Taeguk Warriors, who finished runner-up for the first time in 27 years, as the future of the national team looks bright with this latest finish. Now, some wins are more special than others, as Korea's Chen Ayan showed over the weekend after winning the LPGA season opener, the 2015 LPGA Coach Championship. Of course, with their mom watching her compete for the first time ever, she storms through in the final round of the event, including 4 birdies in the front 9 to take the title with 16 under par overall for a single-stroke victory. Now, she added that her latest victory was even more special as her mom was there to see her win as she gets the season's first victory. Meanwhile, a great start to her LPGA career as Jongun kicks off her rookie season in the LPGA, finishing tied for second at 15 under par, just a single stroke behind the winner. 17 years and 9 months old. Now, when I was that young, my greatest achievement was probably completing my first week of college. Now, it was tough with 4 8 a.m. classes that semester, but Lydia Ko's accomplishment dwarfs that, as she's set to become the youngest #1 ranked golfer in history. Now, after finishing the 2015 LPGA Coast Championship tied for second and Park In-bi finishing tied for 13th, her #2 ranking will turn into a #1 ranking, as she's set to take over Park In-bi for the top ranking. And at the age of 17 years and 9 months, she'll become the youngest #1 golfer in the sport's history. Now, the previous record was 21 years and 5 months by Tiger Woods in the PGA and Korea's Shin Jae at 22 years and 5 days in the LPGA. Now, if you're not a big fan of football, the 2015 Asian Cup final wasn't the only major sporting event that took place down under. The 2015 Australian Open has been going on as well, with Serena Williams dominating Maria Sharapova for the women's single title on Saturday. But on Sunday, quite a matchup between Novak Djokovic and Andy Murray. Now, just an epic start to the final as Novak Djokovic sneaks past Murray in the first set 7-6, 7-5. Before the break comes back with a 7-6, 7-4 victory to level it up. But the long set's an issue for Andy Murray as Djokovic starts taking advantage of his opponent's mistakes, taking the third set 6-3 and absolutely dominating the fourth set 6-0 for his 5th Australian Open title and his 8th Grand Slam title. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning. I'm Ijian here with your latest weather updates. It will be a bit milder today as the daytime highs will be 3 to 4 degrees higher than yesterday. But the cold wave advisory is still in place for some parts in Gangwon-do province, and dry weather advisory is in effect for parts in Gyeonggi-do province and southern coastal regions. So for those who are in those areas, take good care of your health to avoid getting sick. And right now we're looking at clouds passing by, but as the day moves along, skies will get clearer. With that in mind, let's take a closer look at the readings for today. The morning low here in Seoul is kicking off at -4, then the daytime high will climb up to 5, while the top temperature in Daegu and Gwangju will peak at 8, and Busan will top out at 9 this afternoon. And as for the other regions, Jeju Island will rise to 8, and Daejeon and Dokdo should see a high of 5 and 4 respectively. That's all for the weather now. Let's send it back to Mark in the studio.
Well, thank you very much, Jiyeon, for the weather there. And that's going to do it for now. Korea Today is coming up at the top of the hour. Have a great day. Stay tuned to Arirang. Goodbye.